Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's Midweek Wire here on 21 Wire Live. Great to have you with us. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host, and we're doing geopolitics the last couple of weeks. What an amazing episode we did last week with Mats Nilsson and Freddie Ponton on Whiskey on the Rocks, and just looking at the whole Nord Stream incident from another perspective. Fascinating, amazing feedback from this episode. So thank you guys who participated in that last week. We also had a great Sunday Wire just this past weekend, a couple of days ago. You can catch all of that up at 21stcenturywire.com. Today, we're going to go into politics, and politics is getting weird. The first couple of weeks of the Trump administration, I don't know, it's definitely not boring, but it is getting very, very weird. So a lot of things are coming apart at the seams, like, ideologies, ethos, and all those little things like that. It's all coming apart at the seams, both domestically and internationally. And to help us go through some of this discussion, and of course, one of the people that is going to be the focus of this discussion is this character who has made his way into the White House, wasn't on the ballot, but he's there. Elon Musk, of course, has been in the news with the latest love child. All this and more. We're going to welcome onto the stage Niko House. Niko, thank you for joining us. Niko's media outlet is Hotspot, and we'll bring links to that later on in the program as well. But welcome, Niko.
Thanks for having me back, man. Y'all can also follow me on For the People podcast on YouTube as well. But yeah, man, thanks for having me on. Pat, one of the hardest working dudes in the business, dog. I don't know how you do it, but it makes you crazy because, like you said, I don't know what you want to call this administration, but it's interesting, and there's always some news coming out. And even with this Elon story that we're going to discuss today, yesterday I did a hotspot video about it, and I almost didn't do it. I'm like, I'm not about to talk about this bullshit. and then you keep reading, and then eventually something comes out where something that you don't really take all that seriously ends up being a bigger deal than what you thought it was. And it seems like that's a consistent pattern with this administration. And it's a little bit worrisome. It is a little bit worrisome, I'll tell you that.
Well, we'll get to some of those saucier details. They've got big ramifications, actually. We'll get into that. But Munich Security Council, just briefly, happened this last week. J.D. Vance's speech, I knew it was going to make huge waves. And I don't know what you thought of it. Here's Thomas Fassi from Unheard. He was flagging up some of the contradictions in Vance's speech. His criticism was that J.D. Vance kind of laid it all at the feet of Europeans, the censorship, calling off elections in Romania and all this other stuff. But he pointed out that this was the U.S. behind all of these things, that they pushed the Europeans to take these extreme Russiagate type positions and paranoia and all of this stuff. So interesting take here. I mean, what was your impression on the Vance speech? What was your overall sort of feeling about it?
So my overall impression about J.D. Vance's speech was kind of, I don't know, to me, it felt like almost like he was speaking in front of Americans, or at least he felt like he was speaking in front of Americans. He talked about issues that we oftentimes deal with and are dealing with here, like culture war stuff, immigration. And although he is correct about the censorship that the United States forced on Europe, maybe when it comes to like RT, like I want to be clear, Europe would have done that anyway. Europe, unfortunately, hasn't really been that shy about censoring people, especially Great Britain. So I'm not really sure if like we're entirely to blame about that, but I can say that there is some blame to be placed at the feet of Europe when it comes to some of the Western imperialism that we've seen come out of Europe, like when it comes to Libya, for example, what they tried to do to prevent Niger from taking their government back, what they're doing currently in helping facilitate terrorism in Burkina Faso in order to overthrow their government because of the success that they're having, and the fact that Burkina Faso blocked them out completely as well. So, like, even though there's some blame to be placed at their feet, he does make a point where that the United States has such influence over Europe that it would be good if we started making better decisions so that we stop putting them in bad situations. But the culture war thing, the immigration situation, He can't really do anything about that personally. Like, but the United States, the part that he forgets to leave out, which is, by the way, I got to give a shout out to Candace Owens because she actually said this, which was crazy to hear her. She said, like in Europe, and she specifically mentioned Europe, if you guys want to stop having such a massive demographic shift, if you guys want to stop dealing with this immigration problem, this paradigm, if you will, stop causing the problems that are causing the mass immigration. Stop blowing up their countries. Stop going to war with them. In that sense, JD Vance could influence Trump, hopefully, and stop that from happening. However, I feel like the problem is, in that speech, at least from what I heard, he didn't mention that. He didn't mention we're going to stop going to war, stop causing these issues, stop destabilizing these nations so that you guys can maintain your demographic culture or whatever kind of stability they want to call it. I mean, it's kind of a little bit xenophobic, but hey, if that's what you want, if that's the conclusion you want, stop causing the problem, right? But he doesn't want to bring that up, even though that's something that, surprisingly enough, Marco Rubio has brought up. And that's just another example of why this administration has been a little bit strange. Because out here, Marco Rubio, who weirdly enough sounds like possibly the best best Secretary of State in my lifetime, making sure that he keeps saying that he doesn't want war, that the United States needs to work with our adversaries where we can, that we don't want war with Russia, that we don't want war with China, even when they try to set him up to go at China in a way that could be deemed a little bit adversarial. He's no, I'm not gonna entertain that. Based on the understanding that we want to work together and try to overcome some of these problems we have. So you have him saying that. You have JD Vance focused on the culture war. You got Trump and his executive orders. I don't even know where to start with that shit. And you got Elon Musk. And need I say more? Elon Musk with his child meeting with the Prime Minister of India for some reason. It's not just JD Vance's speech that has been a contradiction, but really the entire Trump administration since it started has in a lot of ways been a contradiction in and of itself.
Yeah, and full credit to Vance. He actually got involved in the Twitter thread of the author of this article, Thomas Fassi. Thomas is a great journalist. He's based in Italy, but very versed in the ways of the British and the Europeans himself, having gone to school in England. He's an excellent political commentator. But Vance actually got in there and defended himself underneath Fassi's article post on X. And, to have a vice president engaged in a debate and dropping points, I find that to be refreshing. It's
refreshing and also weird. It's refreshing and weird, right? Because it's like, bro, what the hell are you doing on Twitter? Like, you checking tweets about your speech? It's kind of a little weird, but I'm not against it. I'm not against him going out in there and defending himself. But to me, it does reek of like PR control. Like, oh, if this article goes viral, then people do, because the problem with what was the initial problem with JD Vance, the perception at least, is that JD Vance's entire career has been a contradiction. His life has been a contradiction. He was at one point a liberal, then he went conservative. He was one point pro-immigration and all these things that he considers now woke, right? And then he went completely quote unquote anti-woke. So I could see why he would feel the need to address someone else now referring to him as being contradictory because I was about to say porque. Sorry, y'all. I've been in Brazil for too long. But because we all know what his ambitions are, right? Like at this point, I think everybody is aware JD Vance is going to try to run for president. The motherfucker got a Netflix documentary done like as soon as the last election was over. And we didn't even know who the hell he was or why he deserved one.
He is being groomed as the heir apparent for now. I think Trump could change, as you know, it's very capricious with Trump. But one of his kids could get to the front of the queue by after the midterms. Who knows? But
it's true. Don Jr. could. Don Jr. could actually end up at the front because he's a very measured political individual. Like he's learning the game, right? I feel like, and so we'll see how, if that does happen, how JD Vance will respond to that, because it's not being a conservative and going against Trump when the perception is that Trump made you. It has not worked out for anybody.
Yeah, Vance actually, 2 years in the Senate, like Obama, half a term, Kamala Harris half a term in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden gets to fast track prone. So I know he's young, and it's definitely the youth, one of the youngest vice presidents in history. So
If
yeah,
not the youngest, he might be the youngest. I think he is.
I think you're right. But the main point you brought up, Niko, is that these are all, I mean, all the high profile members of the MAGA inner circle are basically all recent Democrats.
Yes.
And that's RFK, Tulsi, JD Vance, you're saying, was a liberal before, very anti-Trump before, just a couple of years ago. Before he ran for Senate, he was very anti-Trump. And there's a whole bunch of others that are kind of implanted in there that are sort of Elon Musk. Elon Musk backed John Kerry, Obama twice, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden in 2020. And he got all his carbon tax credits, and he got all his subsidies for Green New Deal.
Forget Tesla was a failed business. I don't care what nobody said. I don't care what anybody says. Tesla succeeded, quote unquote, because the government subsidized their company until they could finally make a profit. That's the only reason they succeeded. I mean, it's the same thing with Amazon to some degree, but Tesla specific, like Elon Musk is not some genius. He didn't invent the fucking electrical car, right? He just had enough money to buy patents, to have the government working on his behalf to make sure it happened, and to make sure that no one could get ahead of him. And even the way that he got Tesla was a little bit controversial. And it's almost similar to how he got Twitter. It was like a hostile takeover type of situation. And so he seemingly plays for the team that he believes is winning at the time.
Yep. And suddenly he is a conservative, Niko, an arch conservative, an anti-woke warrior. He's, taking the leap of faith onto the MAGA train. But that ticket cost him about $200 million. So I don't know about you, Niko. I can't buy my way into the White House and turn it into a co-working space, but the Israeli lobby can. Elon Musk can, but we can't do that. So we, the electorate, the plebs, don't have access to that type of, getting a position, not an official position too, because Elon Musk, unlike the other cabinet appointees, didn't have to go in front of the Senate, did he?
Nope, he surely did not, which is extreme. I need an explanation as to why. Because Doge is being given all this access, not just to data, but given top secret clearance. Elon is like talking about auditing the Pentagon, auditing even the auditing Fort Knox for gold, things like that. Okay, so who's giving you clearance for all this? Who is like because so Tulsi and RFK Jr., for example, their political history put them in danger of not being confirmed. That was like the big debate. Elon Musk, he doesn't have a political history, but he has a history of political commentary, and he has a history of political opinions, not to mention conflict of interest. And he did not have to get scrutinized. None of that was scrutinized. None of it was scrutinized in front of the world like Tulsi and RFK had their history scrutinized. That's a little bit problematic, especially considering, I mean, Tulsi has a little bit. Yeah, she has all the access that Elon Musk has, but also has a history that shows she's not going to put that access in danger as a DNI. RFK Jr. doesn't have half of the access that Elon has, but has gone through a process as if he would have access that Elon has. Meanwhile, Elon is just getting access whatever the hell he wants to. And might I add, it's for free, basically. He's getting access for free to things that would honestly make him wealthier by the end of this administration. And no one's talking about it. He's going to be I can't even really put into words or numbers how much wealthier he will be after this administration is over. He's going to increase his wealth exponentially during this administration. But after, whenever less eyes are on him, all the information and data that he's gathered because of him being a part of this administration is going to be insane. And
it's incredible knowledge for the world's richest man. So imagine if this was Democrats doing this. The world's richest man's a Democrat. He buys a seat in the White House for $250 million. That's how much I believe Elon bundled between his own personal and the other people he brought on. It came out to just under 250 million. Very similar to the Israeli lobby, Mary Madelson and the rest, 234 million. So that's between the two of them, $500 million. So those are the kind of dominant implants, if you will, in this administration. And where does that leave? It doesn't. I can't relate to that. I mean, yeah, everyone's cheering now. They're cheering. They're loving. Oh, MAGA. USAID dismantling that. Okay, fine, great, wonderful.
Which they didn't really do. I don't know why they keep saying that they did that. They literally openly admit it's not an NGO anymore, and it's going to be rolled to the State Department. I don't know why people keep saying it's dismantled. Nor do I understand why people keep pretending as if USAID was not active under Trump.
Oh yeah, very active.
Like very active. Yeah, they act like, oh yeah, Trump and Elon are doing something that they're dismantling the Democrats' baby, and I'm like, well, he was using it too. I'm confused. They were funding it under Trump. His Republicans were funding it. And they damn sure didn't have anything to say about it, did they?
Oh, yeah. Marco Rubio was on the board of the International Republican Institute. That's the right-wing version of the National Endowment for Democracy. And so that's a Republican kind of version of NED and NDI. Rubio was on the board of that, John McCain's think tank. And so, I mean, that didn't really make any headlines, but I'm just saying the stuff didn't just appear out of nowhere like 2 weeks ago. I was exposing, you probably were, all of us, USAID as a kind of clandestine CIA cutout.
For years. Yeah.
For years. And, we've all written about it, talked about it, and showed what a scam it is. And everyone on the Trump trains kind of discovered it in 2 weeks. So,
which is hilarious. Man, yeah. I know it kind of pissed you off because you see some of these people, they've become ridiculously famous and popular in the last 2 or 3 weeks because, they'll kiss Trump's ass by touting decisions that he made, like regarding USAID, for example. Like, oh, look at all the bad the USAID has done that we're just now learning about. And I'm like, yeah, but we've been talking about this shit for like 6-7 years, guys. I mean, for me, at least, I'm a little bit younger. Like, there are people who have been talking about this for longer. What are y'all talking about? No, so are you going to stop at the Biden administration, or are you going to go a little bit further back to talk about some of the stuff the USAID did? And they always stop at the Biden administration.
Yeah,
it's funny.
It's different this time, Niko. It's dark MAGA this time, so it's slightly more legitimate than before. So so everything we were airing all these years didn't get any purchase from any of these people, but because Elon's doing it, because it's under Trump. Fair enough. Okay, fine. We'll take the small W's, but not maybe. Is it a big W? That remains to be seen.
But it's a small W in the sense that it's exposed. But and I would say maybe depending on your perspective, it's a small W in the sense that at least we'll know because the State Department is taking it over. It'll have to be part of official records whenever they do engage in some type of imperialist behavior. But at the end of the day, like, it didn't get dismantled, and it's kind of wrong to use that terminology to describe what happened. It got exposed. It's being restructured, but it did not get dismantled. It's just, I mean, right? This is an Elon Musk type of situation. So what does Elon Musk do? Does he dismantle it? No, he rebrands. Yes. He didn't dismantle X. He just rebranded it.
Mm. And when Kennedy created USAID in '61 to take some of the work, I mean, what CIA used to do on a completely under clandestine cover, they brought into the light and made it kind of official, kind of a genius system in a way. And so a lot of this activity will be pushed. Some of the darker stuff will be put back into the CIA right now, totally out of any public view, because USAID and all the NGOs became kind of exposed because of Soros, and they got a little bit too aggressive in the color revolutions, and a lot of countries have banned them. So
just a little bit, just a little bit. But so it's funny that you bring up Soros, and we're talking about Elon. I just I find it so interesting that like these conservatives get so upset that a foreign billionaire is trying to control their government for his personal gain. And I'm like, okay, so what about the other foreign billionaire trying to control your government for personal gain? He's patriotic, but Soros is evil.
Right.
I need somebody to square that circle for me. How does that work?
So they're getting upset because Soros is throwing his billions around, backing progressive, far left political parties and causes in Eastern Europe and whatnot. And Elon's using his billions to back far right parties in Germany or wherever, UK. Tommy Robinson, he's basically underwriting Tommy Robinson for what it looks like. So that's just the Soros for the far right. It's no
Yeah,
different.
I mean, he might be, honestly, it could be kind of worse just because Soros didn't have X,
True.
right? You know how much you can, like Elon can influence, I mean, just by a tweet, he can influence a Bitcoin run, right? A bull run. He can, I mean, Trump he did the thing with the meme coin where he just kind of pulled the rug from under what supposedly it wasn't him, it was somebody that was a part of his team that did it, but whatever. Like, but a lot of people lost a lot of money on the Trump meme coin, and it's because it was announced at like a party of his after the inauguration or inauguration week, and a lot of people got rich, a lot of Pitt Circle got rich, and a lot of other people lost a shitload of money. Why? Because Elon or Trump or whoever, they have these social media outlets, and Elon owns X. And I mean, he uses it. He wields that power. He understands what it means to own X in this political climate. And so it almost makes him potentially more dangerous than Soros.
Yeah. Well, you said we are the media, Niko, so we should be grateful that we can pump out fake news and get huge X monthly monetization.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Well, certain people do anyway, and they are the media. Elon is the media. When he says you are the media, he means I am the media. And the people I like are the media. I will boost those accounts and not others. I will put my thumb on the scales with the algorithm. So
even people who disagree with him politically still kiss his ass because they know if you call Elon out enough, he will figure out. He censors and he's aware because he's just chronically online. It's obvious that Elon's chronically online. He paid more attention than people might think he does. And the people who call him out, all of a sudden your account starts getting shadow banned, or they have a problem making payments to you, or you're noticing you're getting the same impressions as others, but you might not be making as much as others. There's a reason for that. It's because he can tip the scales, and he reward. There are people who consistently kiss his ass, and he rewards them. That's why they continue to do it. It's the same way that YouTube or other platforms discourage you from talking about certain issues, and they don't necessarily stop. Well, sometimes they'll take you down, but usually what they'll do is they'll say, "Oh, but this is not suitable for advertisers, and so it's going to hurt your livelihood. So it's going to discourage you from talking about certain topics so that you self-censor." Elon does the same thing.
Yeah, it is the same. It's in a way it's kind of worse because he's paying. Not everybody gets monetization. I was demonetized in September for no reason. I got no notice or anything, just monetized. So it was around the time I started criticizing Elon. I don't know if it has anything to do with that. I can't prove it, but it happened. So not everybody, it's not a level playing field. He's got his thumb on the scales on pretty much everything. And
yeah, I haven't been monetized by Twitter in quite some time. They refuse to verify my identification.
Right.
So, which is crazy because like I already actually had it verified the first time, and then they're like, "Yeah, we can't verify." I'm like, "What you mean, bitch? I already did it. What do you need to do it again for?" It was with the same. To my knowledge, it was actually with the same company. So like, I was like, "Well, whatever. I guess if they already got my information anyway, there's not really anything I could do." And then out of nowhere, around the time I started criticizing Elon more, "Oh, we can't verify you." Okay, well, let me submit it again.
I'm sure it has nothing to do with your pro-Palestinian activism. Sure it has nothing to do with that.
Exactly. So he comes up with very creative ways to censor his enemies. I will say that, to the point where it's obvious that something else is going on. It isn't just some run of the mill, "Oh, you said something bad and now we had to censor you." No, it's very obvious.
So there's a lot of weird things going on, Niko, and nothing more strange than this story that broke this week here. Influencer says Elon Musk kept her pregnancy secret, leaving her, quote, isolated. Ashley Sinclair is claimed to have given birth to Elon's latest child. The Tesla boss left her, quote, isolated as he wanted to keep their relationship secret. Okay. That's interesting. You actually released a really brilliant viral video, but I'll show that in a minute. But this was the sort of thing that kicked it off here, and it's a typical one-word Elon. Whoa, he does this one-word laconic single-word reactions, and she says, "Elon, we've been trying to communicate for the past several days, and you have not responded," said Ashley St. Clair, former e-girl, works for the Babylon Bee. That's another interesting angle. And when are you going to reply to us instead of publicly responding to smears from an individual who just posted photos of me in underwear when I was 15 years old? I mean, this Michael Tracy said this site has become one man's personal soap opera. Typical hard take from Michael Tracy. What are your initial thoughts I mean, sketch this story out, because you did a brilliant video on this, Niko, which I'll show on screen, but you kind of laid out the story really well. But so those people who can't figure this one out, or how would you tell this story?
So with Ashley St. Clair, who was, like they said, a former e-girl, she was popular on Instagram before, and she as a conservative influencer, and she also wrote a kids book, basically an anti-woke kids book. So she comes out saying that she has Elon's baby, which, believe it or not, that wouldn't even be that strange, because Elon has like 30 babies with like 15 baby mamas. And but in all seriousness, no, he does have 13 babies, and I think it's 4 or 5 baby moms. So like I said in the video, he's like basically the Dwight Howard. If you watch the NBA, if you know about Dwight Howard, he's like a bunch of kids with a bunch of baby mamas. He's like the Dwight Howard of the tech industry. So it wouldn't be that strange for him to have another kid with somebody else. There are a couple of things, however, about this particular situation that makes it bizarre, which is that, one, he allegedly told her to keep it quiet. Like, but why? Why keep it quiet? Because he said that it's to keep them safe. But as you all know, over the last week, I've seen more of Elon Musk's child, like, than I've seen it really since he's been public, since he's been a public figure. He's been meeting with Trump with his child. He's been meeting with Modi, Prime Minister of India, with his child. So obviously, he's not really all that worried about political backlash, at least when it comes to his kids, like he's claiming. Or else he wouldn't have put his kid in front of all these cameras, especially given the shit that his kid said, right? Right. So that's a weird excuse. Also, this particular influencer is an influencer, a content creator, or at least she was. She's been a public figure. Her being a public figure and being with Elon Musk wouldn't really be that crazy, and I think she would probably be able to handle the publicity that comes with that. I feel like you kind of learn how to deal with that when you've already been in the spotlight for long enough. If she chose to do that, if she chose to keep it a secret, I feel like it would be a whole different story. But she was very clear. It's Elon who said to keep it a secret. Then there's the fact that this kid was born allegedly 5 months ago, and which would put the date around the conception date roughly within 2 months after October 7th. So about 2 months after October 7th is when Elon went on a full Zionist kick. Like, went to Israel, as you all know, met with Bibi Netanyahu. He went from being accused of being anti-Semitic by the ADL, and then the ADL is actually refusing to advertise on Twitter anymore. And then they flipped the script after he basically came out and started censoring every and anybody who spoke the truth about what was happening on October 7th, or just posted about what was actively happening with Israel's genocide in Gaza. So this influencer, her PR manager is actually somebody who works with an Israeli security firm called Mur. Okay, I think he had accepted, $600,000 roughly from this security firm at one point. And Ashley St. Clair herself is also Jewish. And we now know that Elon had ambitions. He had political ambitions. He became a massive part of Trump's campaign. He literally is a part of Trump's administration. Now, although we did not know all of that at the time, somebody did. If you've been involved in politics, you don't just wake up one day and you end up a part of somebody's campaign. It doesn't work like that. I knew I was going to be a part of one campaign about 3 to 4 months in advance. I knew I was going to be a part of another campaign about a year and some change in advance. Okay. Okay. And so in that particular case, when it comes to a billionaire, and so do your handlers. Okay. And Elon's the type of person that can't say no whenever he's getting praise dumped on him. He just seemed like the type of person that will sleep with anybody who gives him a compliment and a cute smile. is that type of person. You see the way he acts on Twitter. Dude, he like screams daddy issues. He needs the attention.
Yeah, he's
cool.
He's the consummate e-thought, or e-tot or whatever they call it. Forever posting about himself and
or like reposting shit that people say about him all the time. Like, bro, it's your platform, you fucking weirdo. Like, why are you elogiating yourself on like your platform? Like, that's super weird. Even Zuckerberg doesn't do that, and he's weird as hell. So, the thing about this is like the timing of the conception with Elon's, like, he went from being accused of being anti-Semitic, which people forget about because he's been so pro-Zionist lately. Like, people forget he was being actively accused of being anti-Semitic. And it also aligns with with him running basically alongside Trump, not just getting a position in the administration. He got, like, if you were going to get a position and have influence, like, this would be the one where you can do whatever the fuck you want to, get all the data you want to, and not have to be confirmed by the Senate, nor be held accountable by the Senate. This would be the position that you would want, especially if we're finding out that he's not only having domestic influence, but he's having international influence, right? So somebody knew about it, and the information about this baby does not come out till 5 months after the baby was born, but more importantly, after the inauguration happens and after Elon Musk has been a part of the campaign, and he hasn't denied anything. And finally, people kind of forget, if I'm not mistaken, he's still in a relationship with the director of Neuralink. He has 3 kids with her.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure I didn't see any news about them breaking up. So if this baby was conceived while he was still, at least at that point, in a relationship with the director of one of his largest companies.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's a pretty big deal. It's like you can have a shitstorm if he was with the director at the time, and she's a part of the company in a way that like can influence the board, which she was a director. Like, you could have a shitstorm with one of your biggest companies as he was trying to get it off the ground, so to speak, and have more influence, the type of influence that Tesla or SpaceX has. So it's realistic to believe that maybe she was doing Massad's dirty work and blackmailing him, and was a honeypot. He fell for the trap.
Well, that's the accusation that some people are kind of pointing towards, and looking at all those things that you've mentioned, and the timeline is interesting. I mean, I think you're totally on the money, Niko, about the timing. Like, why would you want to keep this love child secret? She's a influencer, big on your platform. You're king of the X, and it just, whatever. Why would you want to keep it secret? Definitely, there's a little bit of a problem, because there's still this problem with evangelicals and with actual conservatives about the lack of conservative values, maybe with somebody like this who's kind of fronting. He's fronting the Trump administration at the moment. So he's basically, let's just, he's got, I don't know how many children, just the ones that you know of are 13.
Yeah, that's the important part, right? The ones that we know of.
The ones that haven't signed an NDA. And the ones that haven't, I don't want to get into speculation, but there's a number of different possibilities, and the other genetic floaters that are kind of out there in the population.
Everybody knows somebody who's had a papa that's a Rolling Stone, man. Everybody knows somebody out there, and your daddy ain't the richest man in the planet. So imagine, right? There's athletes that have situations like that. I mean, there's an athlete named Jalen Rose who didn't know his father, but found out later that his father was in the NBA. But he was in the NBA later, but he didn't know that. He didn't even. So like his dad was in the NBA before, like while he was a baby, and didn't even know. And he just ended up in the NBA. Like, that type of stuff happens to rich people. And Elon Musk with 13 kids, you could probably go ahead and multiply that by like 2 or 3, maybe. But this particular kid, and this particular baby mama, if you will, it's not just the fact that she has a kid, not just the fact that he's not married to her, because he's not married to the director of Neuralink either. And he's also had kids with another girlfriend or partner I think 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Before he had, or after, he was married. So that's not the issue as much as like you're hiding this particular kid, and you're not apparently not communicating with the mother like you said you would, and all this was allegedly to protect her. Well, now she's saying like, we don't really need your protection, we would rather have you involved in the kid's life. And then all of a sudden the tabloids were able to get a hold of this information, even though they weren't able to get a hold of this information during the election, when it would have been the time to get that information, because this information doesn't do really anything to him right now. Just It's an interesting story, and exposes, how potentially Israel is still using the Monica Lewinsky tactic to get a hold of people, but it doesn't do anything to him right now. During the campaign, it could have done something, but it seems like somebody was able to keep it out of the public eye until after the campaign was over, and Elon already has influence over the Trump administration.
Yep. And it's funny that he's using his little kid here. His name's named after the app X, which let's not get into that. But anyway, he's using him as a kind of a media human shield. He's leading with this kid in the Oval Office, and it gives the impression that Elon's a regular family man, and he's like anything but a regular family man. And some of his children are estranged. They don't want to talk to him. They said he's the worst person ever. And there's all sorts of crazy stuff in the background. So no conservative values there. He basically greenlit turning X into one of the biggest porn platforms. This is right after October 7th, which is interesting, the timing of that too, where he opened up the gates of hell to unlimited porn on X.
Even though he said he was going to fix that problem, didn't he?
No. He completely opened the floodgates. Whereas Dorsey and the previous regime, while they censored a lot, as we know, but they had restrictions on pornography. Elon lifted all of that and turned it into a cesspool of vice.
Ironically, like, so if you try to post something about Palestine, I remember once upon a time, a porn bot would post something under your post, and then your post would be limited to who could see it and who could not because of their personal settings.
Yes.
So, like, he knew what he was doing. Like, in my opinion, I think he knew what he was doing when he did that. Because I can't tell you how many times that happened to me, where I would post something and like the moment it was like going viral, porn bots would just start flooding the thread.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of ruthless on a certain level to, use your kid like this. And he's kind of stealing the show, obviously, from Trump, but it is very staged. This is a very calculated, staged type of thing. He's got a gold chain around his kid's neck. He's blinged him up, giving him the Doge look and all that, dark MAGA hat. So it's all very sort of choreographed, the kind of,
it almost makes you think that Elon was aware that this news is going to come out.
Yeah, I sort of feel like there's a protection. He's putting a layer of protection out for himself.
Yeah, him. Because why only bring one? Like he has so many kids. Why bring this one?
Why would you want to expose your kids to the media and politics in such a ruthlessly shameless way? I mean, if you really cared about them, because that can have negative effects going forward. Let's just talk about children of Hollywood stars, and I can give you a whole litany of problems of kids who will never live up to their parents' gravitas. And then when they become teenagers, they hang out with other children of famous people, and they get into drugs and everything else. It's unlimited amount of examples of this. So this is why some Hollywood people, Niko, protect their kids from this intentionally. They keep them out of the limelight for that reason. Elon is not only not parenting the kids, but he's having them for the week or for the photo ops. Yep. It's so suspect, all of this, Niko. And I think Max Blumenthal did a piece we'll bring up on screen here, which is kind of brutal. I mean, the headline of it, I'm going to bring this up on screen, and he kind of lays this contradiction out that is kind of getting very glaring at the moment. And this is up on the Gray Zone Substack, and the headline is Elon's Semen Rules. In Washington, power is now shaped by incredible genetics, quote unquote, of a deadbeat dad who happened to be Trump's most generous donor. I mean, Max is being really brutal there, but he's absolutely true. So it's, so
goes out in the sun and ain't getting no sun. That is crazy. That is just like,
it's not the most flattering picture, I know.
Oof.
But
how does beer belly sit up top? I don't know. How does that even happen? That is wild.
It's a new Tesla design. It's a new Tesla. So Max is saying this. Elon's tweeting out Genghis Khan jokes, because Genghis Khan impregnated half of the Caucasian.
Are you for real?
Yeah, he was joking, about spreading his seed and all this stuff. And
oh my God, the dude is so. Like, he just makes it so obvious. Like, whenever he is guilty of something, like, he makes it obvious by doubling down and because he tries to make a lot of it like, oh, if I joke about myself, then everybody will think I'm innocent because I'm willing to joke about it. It's like, nope, we think you're overcompensating because you're guilty.
You notice that as well. He always he changes his profile into some childish thing like hairy balls he did last week, or Kekis Maximus, the frog. Or remember when this happened? He was just constantly e-thoughting jokes about other people making Hitler salutes.
Yeah, like I'm like, and it's funny because the people that like, he's like, oh well, Kamala and Barack Obama, and I'm like, well, first of all, I don't have any love for either of them, but what they did was not even close to what this dude did. Second of all, why would you want to compare yourself to the very people you compare to Nazis in a sense? Like, he basically tries to insinuate that they are Nazi-like figures. So like, oh well, they did it. Well, then it would make sense that you would do it because you're like the same type of person. So I don't know why you use them as
kind of a childish counter mem technique.
Yeah.
So here's Ashley Sinclair, and Max Blumenthal pointed this out. She's tweeting out not long ago, I guess. The only people who can destroy this toxic wave of feminism is women. Bring back family values. Make monogamy great again. It's okay to want to be a stay-at-home wife, especially if you got 100 grand child support.
Exactly. I was about to say she can be that now.
So it's the problem, Niko, here is where is the so Babylon B.
When she tweeted that?
Let me see here. That was 2019, so it was a while ago. But there's other examples of this.
Things change, huh?
The Babylon Bee is like the sort of Christian conservative bastion, poking fun at the left and all of this stuff. And so she's their operations person at Babylon Bee. That's what I understand her saying that publicly. So I guess she is that. And
that's pretty crazy, actually.
And they're quite virtue signaling about, and they made so many off-color jokes about people getting bombed in Gaza. It was disgusting. I mean, I could bring some of their articles that are just such bad taste from a so-called Christian organization. So there's a lot of hypocrisy, is what I'm saying, Niko, here. And,
just from her specifically, like I said, if it is true that Elon has not ended his relationship with I can't remember her name, but she's the director of Neuralink. Like, I'm pretty sure she knew that. But you also knew that Elon did not marry you. Like, you knew that. You also knew, like, you knew that you had a chance of getting pregnant by him. Like, everything that she preaches about, she knew. Hell, stuff that Elon preaches about, like, he's contradicting as well. He's all of a sudden, he's like Russell Brand just made this, I'm a Christian, I'm all about family values. I've been saved by the Lord. Western values, all that bullshit. Like, and Elon, I don't know how he could pretend to even care about Western values, outside of the fact that he's an apartheid baby. Like, that's the most Western thing about him as far as conservative Christian Western values are concerned. And like, not because it's not just Ashley St. Clair. It's like there's a lot of influencers of her ilk who pretend to be about Christian values, who are literally a walking contradiction of Christian values. Which is why I gotta, once again, even though I don't like all her takes, there's a lot of takes of hers I don't like. I gotta give a shout out to Candace Owens, because she's probably the only Christian that, at least from the a societal and cultural perspective, she's actually living her words that she's putting out on Twitter, right? She is married. She didn't have a kid until she was married. Her stance on Gaza is largely founded within her faith in Christianity, right? And she calls out people who claim to be Christian and are cheering on the bombing of children in Gaza, or claim to be anti-abortion, but then once again cheering on the bombing of children in Gaza. So I got to give her credit there, because you have the Candace Owens, but then you have the walking contradictions like Ashley St. Clair, who, once again, like, let's be clear, her coming out was out of convenience. I mean, she could have came out earlier. I don't know why she wouldn't have, but that was likely because somebody told her not to. And when she did come out, it's because somebody gave her permission to. And so, I mean, if you really want to be strict about how the Bible judges people like that, they tell you that it's the hardest for a person with wealth to get into heaven, right? Yeah. And that's why, because of the shit that these people be pulling.
Yeah, harder for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle
than for a wealthy man to get in heaven. Yeah.
So here's the weird part. So Niko, here's the hard part. I need you to help me explain. And Max says this here: a litter of no less than 13 babies, all conceived through contact-free IVF, in vitro fertilization, while denying reports that he offered his sperm to RFK's running mate, Nicole Shanahan, and random couples at Silicon Valley parties. This child has incredible genetics, accused Matt Gaetz, obviously taking the piss on X. But the IVF thing, so I don't know.
All of them? I thought the last few were. I didn't know all of them were.
I don't know for sure. And this is where it's a little bit murky, Niko. I mean, so with Ashley Sinclair, I don't know if this was an arranged IVF baby or it was conceived through, traditional methods.
Well, supposedly he has a prosthetic dick. So, like,
are you serious?
I'm serious. That's what people are saying. I've seen it in more than one article. Like that he got.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the IVF, which would actually explain the IVF situation. Because I know that he did it at least once, but then I read that all three of his kids, including the one, the X, I think that's what his name is, the newest one, or not the newest one, but the one that was born since he took over X, like that they were conceived through IVF, and I really can't imagine why he would need to do that over and over again. I thought it would be the mother, but if all 13 were genuinely conceived through IVF, that would be an Elon problem. He's shooting up the club, but he just hitting the sky is basically what people were. I mean, that's the only conclusion I can draw, right? I mean, that for those of you that don't know, shooting up the club is basically slang for you out there, you not using a condom and just doing whatever with whoever and nothing is happening. He's shooting up the club, but he ain't even hitting the club. Is basically what's happening. Doing a drive-by, but he hit a McDonald's instead of the club, and that usually only happens when your things ain't working properly. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, I to your point, Niko. I mean, I just did a Google search on this rumor, and we don't want to harp on it because it's just too gruesome to even contemplate. But
it really is.
Seeing that you brought it up, I will go very quickly here. I just put in Google Elon Musk prosthetics, and here we go. Why does he have a vibrating member? Botched member implant rumors plague Elon Musk. There's on Instagram's RSS, a number of RSS entries here. Elon Musk implant, penile implant here, and so forth. I
mean, he's what do you call it? A eugenicist? Is that what it's called?
A eugenicist, yeah.
Like he believes in the integration of robotic parts and human parts. So, like, wouldn't that? And given the type of person Elon is, wouldn't that be like the second thing he replaces outside of his brain? If he could, I feel like that would be the stuff. If it wasn't his brain, if we're being completely honest, knowing Elon, right? So is it really out of the question?
We don't know. We can't. This is like unconfirmable.
Yeah, it's speculative. It's a speculative, guys.
It's completely speculative. I've not seen any evidence of it, but there's tons.
Nor do I want to see, by the way.
Nor do I. Yeah, I'll second that. Anyway, so it's just let's just call it internet chatter. But the point being, Niko, the whole IVF thing is weird.
It is. It
For
is.
a billionaire who can just, go up to a woman saying, "Hey, can I implant my seed in your uterus, or we'll use a surrogate." There's also reports that he's used surrogates. So that the mother doesn't have to go through the whole pregnancy stress.
Yeah, which is super weird.
Only rich people can have these types of luxuries in life.
But my thing is, it's at least from what we've heard and what we've seen, he has no interest in raising the kids. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
So it's like, why does he just want women that are loyal to him, or at least he has some type of connection to for their entire lives because of his wealth and then the kid? That's the only reason I can think of him doing that. But in this particular case, we don't know if it's in vitro or through natural birth. But if it was through in vitro, that would be also weird, right? Because for one, just from a religious perspective, from Ashley's point, I think it's actually unethical to get in vitro. Second of all, like, it's not like she's not fertile. I think the girl's like, what, just maybe her early 30s?
Yeah, late 20s, early 30s, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, and it's like, why would you do this again? Why would you do this and then say, let's hide the child? Why would you go through the process of IVF? Because if it isn't, it's just a weird thing. Because how do you even hide the IVF? Because somebody would get the information if it was IVF, right?
Yeah.
Unless you had the right guy in the right places who can pull the right strings to make sure it never got out. But it will also mean, in my opinion, that somebody made sure that he got somebody pregnant. Like somebody organized the IVF.
Right. So yeah, exactly.
So it makes it's just weird all around.
The surrogate thing is weird, but there's a lot of high profile gay conservatives, or at least one that I know of, that used a surrogate mother in India or Ukraine or something to have is a gay couple.
Well, but why a surrogate mother from another country? That's bizarre.
Yeah. It's Dave Rubin.
That's what he did?
Yep.
I knew he just, what the that's so weird.
And so people were saying, well, if it's not breastfed, then the baby's not going to have the real experience. And he says, no, we have refrigeration units in our garage at a certain temperature that keeps the breast milk at that perfect temperature, and it's going to cost us a couple $100,000, but we can afford to do that because we're very
millionaires
able to afford to mimic the real breast milk kind of thing. So that's the conservative. These are the conservative leaders, thought leaders here. Family value.
No, he's a conservative now, but remember how he was, I'm not a conservative, I'm a classical liberal.
Yeah, I mean, like Jordan Peterson. Yeah,
You're full of shit. That's what you are.
I'm an classic English liberal.
Yeah, whatever the hell that means. Like, it's so crazy watching. Ben Shapiro, literally, not Ben Shapiro. Yeah, Ben Shapiro didn't go to this party that he had, that Dave Rubin had once. And I know because there were some people who got invited to his party that was at a conference that I was at, and they were like, "I'm not going to that shit," because they don't really like Dave like that. And they knew that he's just was being Dave, trying to rub shoulders and do what he does. Ben Shapiro told him no, and he was like, "Yeah, it's because you're gay." Like, straight up.
Really?
I don't respect you because you're gay. I'm not going to your party because you're gay. And then Dave Rubin invites him on his show and is like, people wanted me to not invite you on my show or not talk to you or not have any respect for you because you don't respect my lifestyle. But I can respect that you don't respect my lifestyle. I'm like, dude, you're such a bitch. Like, dog, you just let this, what? It's like, no, he doesn't respect you. And you're like, but I can still respect you.
Was that
it's like, wow, is that conservative? Is that conservative alpha male stuff they be talking about?
It's interesting and weird. Was that public, that spat they had between them?
That it wasn't even a spat. It was like Ben made it clear he wasn't going to go. And then, yes, Dave Rubin invited him on his show and talked about it openly. Because it was just like, I didn't know, nobody else really knew about it. Only conservative influencers and some people who talk to conservative influencers through back channels. But I knew about it because I knew people who didn't go to the party. So Dave Rubin actually discussed this in an interview with Ben Shapiro because people wanted to know, why the fuck are you interviewing Ben? Didn't the dude just come out and straight up say I don't respect you or your marriage? Straight up. And he's like, I can respect that. Like it's crazy. Like, and it's weird just watching him say that about somebody who's discussing his life. He's like, I don't agree with the way you had your kid. I don't agree with your marriage. I don't agree with your lifestyle. I don't agree with anything you do, basically. But it's like the moment maybe a liberal or a leftist says something that he disagrees with, he has to make like an hour video about it because God forbid somebody disagrees with him. It's super bizarre.
I mean, the whole thing is, I mean, let's not get into the
culture war.
These people having guests on their show talking about the size of people's skulls and how that relates to how intelligent they are. I mean,
serious conversations too, bro. Like not even fucking satirical.
I'm not even going to get into all that because that's the sort of stuff on Dave Rubin's show. Blacks have lower IQs than Ashkenazi Jews and all this other stuff. Like he
oh man, which is crazy how he didn't pick up on that study that said Ashkenazi Jews have a tendency to be schizophrenic. He didn't talk about that part. It's super weird. But
I remember he had Stefan Molyneux on his program. This was around 2016, and they were just waxing on about how white Europeans have super high IQs and
what's great. I know this is like a off topic somewhat, but like as an aside, it's weird because I know at least some of these people are college educated, right? And like you actually learn in psychology 101. And so I graduated from UNC, and UNC is actually one of the best psychology schools in the country. A lot of people can't even get into the major because so many people want to go there for that major. And you learn in Psych 101, IQ is like the worst measure of intelligence that you could possibly use. And they even explained, like, if you go to a good school, they'll explain to you why IQ is used. Like, and then also why a lot of people threw it out and they had to come up with all these other different type of tests to measure intelligence, to predict what type of career would work best for you, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, but people, and even after they got this information, they still had these institutions that would rely on IQ to validate someone's intelligence. And it's because of the racial and social implications of that. And the racial implications of it really have to do with the social implications, the economic implications. That's where it really comes from. And but if you, for example, put some of these people who claim to have high IQs, like have them take a test that actually talks about the impact of their social intelligence, like they would be like extremely low. They would be considered imbeciles, basically. And these things are actually just as important. Right. Being able. So I would consider, for example, Barack Obama, I would consider to be a fucking genius, a social genius. So like he might also have a high IQ, but whatever that is, it is not compared to this magical spell he can put on people when he starts fucking talking. It's not even close. And that is a legitimate form of intelligence. It's just that IQ doesn't measure that. IQ measures how well of a cog you can be in the machine of capitalism, how much of a useful idiot you can be, and how efficient of an idiot you can be in the machine of capitalism. That's what it's used for. And people don't realize that. And it's like the people who consider themselves to be smart, high IQ individuals haven't even done the basic research that a high IQ individual, at least what you would presume a high IQ individual would do. Like, it's ridiculous. It's like the people who think that they're the smartest don't even fucking research. It's bizarre, or at least they only choose what to research based off of what will confirm their bias that they've already, given themselves.
Yeah. No, often they're just parroting actual lies. Like when I remember that interview was Dave Rubin and Stefan Molyneux, and Stefan Molyneux was saying, well, it all began around the turn of the century when the U.S. military was testing soldiers, and they found that there was a big difference between the tests of the white soldiers and the black soldiers. But that's a complete lie. The IQ test was developed by a French education and behavioral scientist. And
it's because psychology was considered a joke in the United States. It was not actually considered a legitimate science, so they wouldn't even have created the IQ test.
You know why it was created? It was created in France, and this was right around the Industrial Revolution in the late 19th century. I know because I did this as part of my master's research methods paper. So, and he developed this IQ test, and it was designed for schools to test students the year before to see if anyone had learning difficulties, then to be able to budget the following year to see how much resources they needed to deal with the special needs children, because public schooling was a new thing in the 19th century. And the guy who invented it, I forgot his name, he's French, and he warned, he says, never use this as an aptitude test, because he's explicit.
It's like the dude came out with the test for during COVID. Whenever
Terry Mullis, yeah,
when he came out, was like, "Don't use this to test for COVID because it's not for
PCR
that."
test. He said,
the PCR test, yeah. I was like, hold up. The creator of the test said, "Don't use this shit to test for COVID." So why the fuck are we still using this?
Yeah, he said
we got to test for COVID.
the IQ test could be weaponized.
He said this.
Yeah, he said it can be weaponized. It can give a false impression of potential of students and things like that. So
so I feel like it could give false potential on both sides, right? It could give false potential as in thinking a student doesn't have enough potential or doesn't have a high level potential.
Yeah,
but also it could give a false reading of a student's potential because if they score high, people assume that means that they will be extremely successful. But I mean, from my experience, like I went to one of the best schools in North Carolina. Outside of UNC, I went to one of the best high schools. Very, very fortunate because I played sports and got lucky. And the smartest student from our school at the time, I mean, he's like an upper middle management kind of guy. He's probably not going to be anything more than that. And he's extreme because he's a highly efficient. He does everything fast. He does everything correct. But he's not innovative and he's not really creative in his thought because that wasn't where his parents' focus was, right? It was about getting high grades. And what do they always say? Like, it's the students that average C's in college that end up doing the best in life, generally speaking. And that's not always the case. There's exceptions to that rule. But I understand why, being that I've lived that experience, I understand why. Because it's really the college experience that is more important sometimes than the majority of the education that you're receiving, because a lot of that's going to float, like you're going to forget about it. But the experience itself, navigating real life situations, balancing your life, balancing your schedule, dealing with new challenges every day that you hadn't prepared for, like that's the experience of real life. And people who average C's are usually the ones who kind of stack so much on top of themselves that like getting a high grade is like the last thing on their mind. They're trying to balance their college experience. And a person who can do that, once again, that is a type of intelligence. I lack the intelligence of organization. I don't have it. I'm like average to below average. I'm okay with that because I have a high social intelligence and I have extremely high, like ridiculously high emotional intelligence. And I also have is a test that you do for ADHD. Oh, it's called phonic awareness. So like my level of phonic awareness is so high that it's basically like I can predict what people are going to do or what they're going to say before they can say it. So like, but I have just my disorganization and shit, and that's okay. But IQ, people who tout this IQ thing, it's ridiculous. And it's like ridiculous that they don't see it's ridiculous, but it's like you said, it's because the intent is to weaponize. It is to placate a crowd, placate their audience, and convince them like, if you think that you're smarter than Black people, it's because you are. If you think that you're smarter than Latinos, it's because you are. The tests show that. And it's like, and nobody actually goes to verify what the fuck they say. It's bizarre. You know what I'm saying? Like we do, but like a lot of their audience who wants to believe it, right? They don't go back and verify.
It doesn't test resilience, determination, and grit. And that's how you get ahead in any field, is you need to have that grit and that determination.
And a little luck, right? A little luck.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to be a fighter, in anything.
That is so true.
Even in
that's a good life lesson. That's a good life. Like, you got, no matter what you do, no matter what your field is, right? I coach soccer out here in Brazil. And one of the biggest things that I had to coach out of these kids was, I like Neymar. He's one of my favorite players, but like his way of playing compared to the way old Brazilians play is completely different. He's not like fighting to get to the goal. He's not fighting to get past defenders. If he thinks that he can't get past them, he'll fall. And these kids do the same thing because that's, they emulate who their favorite players are, like everybody does. And like, stop that shit. Stop waiting for the ref to save you. Stop fucking waiting for somebody to, but he pushed me. I'm like, nobody cares. Get your ass up and keep playing. And Because that's real life. Because if you do that, sports emulates life in a lot of ways. And if you do that on the field, a lot of times they'll do that in real life. They'll create excuses. Oh, somebody put this roadblock in front of me. Sometimes you just got to climb over it or bust it down. That's just reality.
Well, you coach soccer in Brazil. It's basically like, the Premier League. That's the global. It's the kids there are more advanced than the college players in America.
Bro, it's wild watching some of the stuff that these kids do. Like, I'm like, there's no way you're 7 years old, dog. There's no way. And my nephew in the States is the best player in his league. And if I brought him here, the game would be going so fast for him that it would probably break him mentally. Like it breaks you down and builds you up. When I started playing out here, I was like, okay, I'm really fucking good at soccer. What is going on? Like, why can I not move as fast as I thought I could? Because I move really fast in the US. And I just got done playing. And it's like, I come here and it's like their anticipation is like so much more advanced. Bro, it's largely because like they don't be using their hands for anything. It's interesting. I will throw a ball at them just like playing around, like, and they drop the ball. I'm like, bro, I was right in front of you. What do you mean? Why did you drop this ball? But if I throw it at their feet, they'll kick it up, do around the world, do a rainbow 3 times. I'm like, this is insane. Y'all really don't use your hands for anything except for like when you're in the house, basically. And it's true. It's because it's their feet. They have the same senses in their feet when it comes to sports that we have when it comes to hands. And so I actually don't have that second instinct, even though I'm good at soccer. And maybe in Europe, I would still be probably as good. But Brazilians, it's like second nature to them. I mean, at one point before Qatar and all the best players in the world went to Europe, the best league in the world were in Brazil. They were all in Brazil. That's why Pele never left. People always like, why didn't he play for like Real Madrid or something? He didn't need to. He was in the best league and in the best team in the world at the time. He was traveling internationally because of that. So it's interesting coaching out here, and you learn a lot, and you just learn a lot about not just you learn things like that, like people's aptitude for soccer. One day I see a kid who looks like he's never going to be able to be great, and then like 2 months later of just the right encouragement and just explain the mental part of the game, and they're like the best on the team or the best for the age group on the team. Out of nowhere. And you're like, what the hell just changed? And it's like one day they wakes up and it just clicks for them. So, and it's because they just, like I said, one of the things that I coach out of them is more than the physical side, is just the mental side of making sure that you're fighting through everything and taking that mentality into you with life, because you can't, some stuff that you're dealing with at home can affect how you play. That's just reality. And so talking to them about the psychology of the game and life is really important. And so, yeah, man, it's fun. It's been a great time. It's taking up a lot more of my time than I thought it would, but it's been a great experience, honestly.
Yeah, the aptitude tests, the IQ, the SAT, blah, blah, blah. The aptitude tests, they don't calculate the late bloomer phenomenon.
They do not. And that's wonderful that you said that. It's so true.
And your late blooming could be, within that adolescent phase, or it could be later, could be after you're 30, could be after you're 40. Some people professionally don't find their footing till after they're 50. They don't make money till their 50s. So yeah,
I got held back in the 7th grade. Yeah. I was held back, and people are like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was held back." I got good grades in elementary school. But because of stuff that was going on with my parents, I got held back in the 7th grade because I just was not handling the situation well. And there was nothing that really could be done about it. And then I bounced back again, and I was like one of the top of my class in high school. And then I got into UNC, which is like one of the hardest schools in the world to get into. And everybody I got on a full ride, and everybody was really confused about that, who knew me from back then. They were like, how the hell did you get into UNC? I'm like, because I'm smart, the fuck? Like, what do you mean? I got hired at SAT school, I did everything right. Yeah, but like, didn't you get held back? It's like, you think that something that happened when I was 12 years old should determine the outcome of the rest of my life? Yeah, because that's what we're taught in school, actually.
Everyone thought that. So many people that have been successful would have never even got a look in. But luckily, not everybody thinks like that, and don't listen to some of these Darwinistic determinists, elite philosophers on YouTube, to use a loose term.
And luckily for me, I'm really competitive. So like anyone who thought that they were smarter than me because I was held back at one point, like if I would hear something like that, like my teachers made fun of me. Like I had situations like that. I'm like, oh, y'all thought that I'm like actually stupid? No, I was like, I was just dealing with shit at home and I didn't have the energy to deal with shit at school. But I mean, if you feel like that, let me go ahead and clarify this. And I'm like, and I get straight A's to the point where I had teachers who literally hated me because they had an opinion already formulated about me. And whenever I proved them wrong, I found out through the grapevine, because my debate coach was also a teacher at the school, like they literally hated me. And they had no legitimate reason. It was just because they were proven wrong. It's like when people formulate an opinion about you based off of really false data or because of their inability to take into consideration the context of a situation. Like you can, it can be a roadblock, but once again, it can be a roadblock, but you could also use it for motivation, because that's their fault that they're stupid enough to formulate an opinion about you based off of incomplete information. But you have the information, you know what your potential is. And anything you don't know, you can learn. And so that's why it's super important that like we don't elevate people like whether it be Dave Rubin or Elon Musk, any of these people who talk about high IQ individuals. Oh, that's not a high IQ individual. I get on my own audience when people say that. And even if they're talking about Elon, they're like, oh, he isn't really high IQ. I'm like, please fucking stop saying that. It's not right. Like, I'd rather just call him a dumb motherfucker. Just call him stupid. Don't say he's high IQ or low IQ. Don't buy into this institutional limited hangout, basically, that has been created or has been at least weaponized to try and convince you that you're smarter than somebody else. Because like I said, at the end of the day, we know that IQ at the moment is used to see how well you can be a cog in the machine. And if you buy into that because you have a high IQ, like I'm pretty sure I do have a high IQ when I did the test, but like, I really don't care because could I be a useful tool for capitalism in this machine? Yeah, I could be, but I would rather not. And I don't want to buy into a test that's trying to fucking prove how well I can fit into this machine. I don't want to be a part of it. Just keep me out of it. Like, I don't want to take the test. Right? We don't even need to legitimize this type of thinking that that very limited scale of a measurement of intelligence is legitimate, because it's not. So, and those who are actually intelligent, genuinely intelligent, they actually get punished. They get punished by society, actually.
Well, that kind of brings us to this kind of, the whole concept of the technocracy, Niko, is that the technocrats know the most. They have elevated themselves to the highest level. So all of the new problems are technical problems. They're the best positioned to solve those problems. They will assemble their experts in their little committee, and they will provide the solution to the problems. And we really don't have a role in that, because
which is crazy.
We're just not at the level that they're at.
Let me ask you something, Pat. How can we not be more prepared to do, for example, like what is Elon's job is what? Efficiency, which is basically what he does is audits. That's there are how many people in the world whose job is literally to audit banks, to audit books, right? There are people who have to audit their own budgets who could probably do the job better than Elon Musk. It's just that if we were put in that position, we wouldn't be allowed to do it.
It's not rocket science.
It's not. He's like, oh, I'm going to look into the Pentagon. Oh, you think wow, you got that idea that literally everyone has been talking about on Twitter for fucking decades? Wow, okay.
Yeah, auditing the Pentagon. Yeah.
You genius, you.
You audit the Fed. Ron Paul's talking about that in 1988.
Bro, yeah, since I was in elementary school, Ron Paul was talking about auditing the Fed. Seriously. Like, you're not smart. You're just taking true Elon fashion. He's taking ideas that other people came up with, and he's like doing it. Not even, and we don't really know to the degree he's doing it, but at least he's pretending to do it. And people are pretending he's a genius for doing so. It's like, no, the real geniuses that actually did the work to figure out where the problems were and identify those problems. Those are the geniuses. The problem is, because of how smart they are, because they rightfully identify the problem, they have been pushed out of, as far as trying to find a solution and applying the solution. They've been pushed out of that conversation and kept out of the government. Like, it's not that they're not smart. That's what I meant when I said geniuses oftentimes are punished. because they are finding the problems and they're correctly identifying the problems. You only get rewarded if you incorrectly identify problems, because then you come up with incorrect solutions, which usually end up with people being held, the actual perpetrators of the issue, who are causing the problem, they end up being held unaccountable. That's why they get elevated and rewarded.
One of the people that Elon's been elevating is the new Argentinian president, Javier Milei. Okay, so it said he is the messiah of libertarianism. And this is the guy we need to model everything we're doing after. Milei. He has transformed Argentina in a year. Nobody's poor anymore. They don't have, 40% of the population in destitution. That's not happening. Milei just waved the magic libertarian wand and fixed it all in the last 12. So we've been basically said Milei is really what we should all be kind of pining to emulate, basically. And then this happens. This happens, unfortunately, Niko. Milei, who Elon has been boosting like crazy, Javier Milei.
Not just him, not just Elon. It's been a lot of these conservatives been boosting him.
Yeah, they've all been boosting him, like lionizing this cat down there, the libertarian messiah. This saint-like figure is going to be delivering salvation and unimpeachable reforms. He's just been charged with fraud for a massive crypto scam. This is one of the pundits here. We'll listen to what this guy's saying. This is Alfredo Lopez. A little bit of a dramatic take here, but we'll listen to him.
A disastrous evening from the meme coin trenches. Javier Milei literally murdered millions of dollars from all of the meme coiners this evening. After launching its token, it pumped up to somewhere near $4 billion before promptly imploding, and it's been down only since. There's been a lot of analysis done up until now where it seems like a lot of insiders were dumping the whole time right out the gate, causing the price to pull back substantially. There were a lot of regular meme coiners who were buying in size because the literal president of the country of Argentina decided to tweet about this, post this on his Instagram, post
Trump.
on Facebook, but now it's all ended in absolute devastation. The real question is this story going to make it to the mainstream? Because this guy basically just rugged everybody in this space. It's absolutely devastating. And to claim on his website that this is going to be used to transform the country feels a little bit disingenuous at this moment in time, given the serious level of sell pressure by insiders. We all just collectively got rugged for those who trade meme coins, and it doesn't feel good. Hell of a move for Valentine's Day. I'd say Milei doesn't really have a whole lot of love for meme coiners. I'll be back tomorrow with more breaking news from the crypto market.
That's actually exactly what I would expect from Milei, but he got that from the Trump meme coin. Like it wasn't that bad. It was bad, but it wasn't fucking. It didn't get to the result of Milei's meme coin. But that happened in inauguration week, where Trump they announced a meme coin at the inaugural party, and then they also announced that he wanted to make the United States the crypto capital of the world. Trump skyrocketed his meme coin, and then 2 days later, after the weekend concluded, pulled the rug. And when he says that money was murdered, basically what he's saying is that money, it's harder. It's not like the stock market. This money just fucking disappears. Basically, I mean, yeah. I don't know how because it's crypto, so it's a little bit different.
Pump and dump. They call it.
Yeah. It's legit. You're not getting it back. It's not like a federal government can just type some shit up and give people their current money back. That's gone from all of the world's economy. It's kind of a big deal, and it actually affects the crypto market. And it's one of the things that scared me recently. I'm a big crypto guy. I try to stay away from meme coins actually, unless I'm doing maybe daily trading on something that looks a little bit interesting. But I would never invest in something like that specifically, because it's become obvious at this point that it's going to be used as a pump and dump scheme.
Yep.
And it was.
Yeah. So Libra, that was the name of the Argentinian crypto scam, Libra, and it was created by the same team behind the Melania coin and other short-lived mem coins here. This is Bubble Maps.
Well, there you go.
I mean, so like, I'm not saying it here. This is, it mapped out all the stake basically holders in this. This is up on Bubble Maps X account. So it's an interesting bit of data there, Niko. And what is even more interesting, which may shock some people, was Javier Milei's reaction to all this. Now, you'd think he'd be somewhat apologetic, a little bit humble, you know, that sort of thing, right?
Hell no.
No chance of that.
No.
This is his magnanimous reply to the plebs here. We'll bring this up on screen, and I can't believe this guy. I mean, the cheek
if you went to the casino and lost money, who was to complain? After promoting the fucking scheme, I didn't promote it. I spread it. I used my personal account. Ooh!
Yeah.
It's like fucking my 6-year-old giving an excuse for the dumb shit that he did.
With a straight face. So,
oh my God.
So
That's
like
crazy.
I'm thinking to myself, this guy's character is really toilet bowl level. To come out and say, as president, first of all, you shouldn't be involved in, and this goes for Trump and everybody else. It's a really bad look to run a meme coin when you just get elected or when you're in office. It's just not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. And he's saying, oh, well, if you go to a casino and lost money, no problemo, you know, what's the problem, basically?
It's like, but that's not the comparison. That's not the analogy that you would. It's like if you went to a casino and the owner of the casino told you to play a specific game because you were guaranteed to win money, even if it's a little bit. That's kind of how he pitched it, right? Like, you just want to save the company.
Yeah.
Like, it's a new game. You have a high chance of winning, and it's going to be the foundation of our casino. Like, that's what that, like, no, it's not even close to like, what the hell kind of comparison? If you go to a casino, I know there's a high chance I'm going to lose money. There's a higher chance I'm going to lose money than there is that I'm going to gain money. No one needs to tell me that. It's not the owner, not anybody. That's not what happened with this coin. So, like, hell, I don't even think Trump promoted the Trump coin. So at least like that, I think he did promote the Melania coin, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't think he promoted the Trump coin. A lot of his team did, but that's not the same thing as a fucking president doing it.
Yeah, that's even worse on so many levels. And then the interviewer pushed back on him here. He says, "But you're the president," and his lawyer came in and shut the interview down at that point.
Really?
I mean,
so is he getting charged by Argentina's courts?
He has been charged with fraud by lawmakers. Hasn't been arrested yet, as far as I know. But there's a fraud case open. So it's
Thank
just
God.
a bad look if you're president.
It's a really bad look. And it's actually, it seems like we're being set up, Pat, for an extremely regulated crypto market, and they're going to blame us, right? They're going to blame the average crypto investor. They're going to blame the average Bitcoiner, the average Bitcoin millionaire, if you will. Which, I mean, there's actually a lot of those now. So, like, for those of you who are curious, there's probably more Bitcoin millionaires than there are actual millionaires at this point. And most people just don't know it. But they're going to blame them, even though they're doing the right thing. They're investing the right way. A lot of them are paying their taxes. But because of shit like this, you're going to see the U.S. government and Congress specifically, after they make their money from the market, by the way, that's how it's going to go, right? They're going to make millions off of it. Then they're going to highly regulate it and make it damn near impossible for people to make the money that they once were able to make in the past, or at least they're going to make it more difficult for anyone to enter the market with a new meme coin, maybe a new platform to trade on, et cetera, et cetera. And they're gonna blame us when it's or use situations like this. And like, look at all the victims of this situation. Which one, if you're dumb enough to believe in Milei, come on, guys, come on. Like, do some fucking research before you buy a coin, promote it. This dude has been promoting. Like, if anything, he should be charged for fraud because of his entire administration. Like, the entirety of his administration was fucking fraudulent. Everything he's he promised to get rid of government institutions, but he also promised, like, we're going to get rid of debt and we're going to make everybody, we're going to boost everybody's income and it's going to be like just natural and like, bro, people are poorer than ever before.
And he loaded up on like IMF loans and
which he said he wasn't going to do, right?
maxing out credit and inflationary stuff. So they still have these issues plaguing them. But the problem here, Nico, is here's Milei with Trump and Musk. So Musk boosts Milei like shamelessly.
High IQ individuals, Pat. Hi.
Yeah, this is the master race, obviously. But Tommy Robinson, he boosts him. He's a career criminal. He put out the lie that Tommy Robinson is in jail for exposing grooming gangs, which is a lie. He's in jail for contempt of court multiple times. So, but everyone Elon boosts are Peter Sweden is another one. They're just grifters, scam artists, and people of generally low character, and that's who Elon promotes on X. And there's a kind of a pattern emerging that is just kind of really, I don't know how to say this, but not and the 13 kids and the spreading your genetic seed, the Genghis Khan thing,
the Nazi salute, and then the justification of the Nazi salute, and then the refusal to apologize for doing it more than once. It's because it wasn't just once. It's once again. It's like, and then he made some. Oh man, like a week or two ago, he made some other comments that were like, "What the fuck did you just say?" Like, oh my god, I wish I could remember because now I'm forgetting.
I'll give you one last example. He accused South Africa.
That's what it was.
Of running a white genocide. Okay, against the Boer farmers, and patently false. Boers have come to basically discredit this. So even the Boers came out and denied that there's a white genocide going on. So he's accusing Cyril Ramaphosa because they passed legislation about land expropriation that they put in a new law to overwrite the 1976 apartheid era law about government land appropriation. It has to go through all sorts of processes to happen.
Congress passed that. And it was years ago that they actually passed it. I think it was just like it just got finalized. It was, or excuse me, years ago that they introduced it. My apologies.
So we have the same in America, eminent domain.
Exactly.
There's all kinds of legal processes that you have to follow to finally do it. And it's only in certain cases. It's not like just the government coming and taking the white farmers and making them homeless. So that's how Elon pushed it. And so what happened?
And he also said that there was a discriminatory. So he said there was a discriminatory aspect to it, basically, which there's nothing. If you actually read the legislation, there's nothing that says a white farmer has a higher chance of getting their land taken for public use than a black farmer does. There's nothing in it.
There's none of that. None of it. It's not even related to what Elon was characterizing it as. But what happened was he got Rubio, Secretary of State, to basically parrot the same complaint and threaten sanctions against South Africa. What did South Africa do? They retaliated and are threatening to stop U.S. access to rare earths and minerals in South Africa.
Which, by the way, is more important because the president of South Africa came out and was like, "We don't get any money from y'all. What the fuck are you talking about? Y'all send us HIV and AIDS medication, and we kind of don't even want that, to be real, because it came from y'all, and we know how your pharmaceutical industry is." But the president of South Africa came out and said, we don't really, I mean, we value our trade relationship with you guys, but we don't get any money from you guys. So I don't know why y'all, but it was like almost like this weird flex, basically. And it was a weird battle to choose, because if Elon is claiming, he didn't even realize the irony of this, because if he's saying, of course, without reading legislation, that this legislation is discriminatory, that would mean that he inherently believes that it is almost exclusively white people who own the farms in South Africa, a country that is not 89, 86% black, something like that. And that would mean that the only way that could have happened is because we know of the apartheid. So,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, so you're acknowledging that the fact that they so if you're saying that your fear is that these lands could be taken for public use for the South African people, and your fear is that they're going to be taken from white people, and therefore we should care more. First of all, that means you only care about it it's because the white people can have their land taken away from them, and it's also acknowledgement that it's only white people who have the land, or at least the majority of it is white people who have the land, and as directly as a result of apartheid policies. It's like, why would you tweet that?
No, he
Why
said
would you?
he used the word racist. That the South African government is racist, and Rubio used the same term. So he got it. He riffed off Elon. So where did Elon get it? He probably got it from Cat Turd. So Niko, Cat Turd is running fucking U.S. foreign policy. Can you fucking believe that? I mean, that's kind of
because
like
Elon usually doesn't even comment on. That's what's crazy about it too. Elon rarely comments on South African politics. I've always found it I've always found it strange that a South African almost never comments on South African politics. And then like the time that he has, he's actually, I mean, in the past, he's actually condemned the apartheid, right? He actually accused his father of being.
Was that when he was a Democrat?
Back in the day, yeah.
But he's not doing.
He was actually used that as his excuse of draft dodge, or the draft dodge, because they had to do the automatic service in South Africa, and he said like, oh, I'm not going to be the white guy bullying black people in South Africa. That was his excuse.
Interesting. I've not heard that, but that's extremely within character.
And now it's getting rid of apartheid policy is actually racist.
Is racist. Yeah, I mean, just imagine. I mean,
after like, bro, a week or so after your Nazi salute, what, like, the lack of self-awareness, bro, is crazy.
Nothing to see here, Niko. It's nothing. So I see. Here's the thing, Niko. I used to think that he was a liberal who was LARPing as a conservative, but now I've realized that he was. It seems like to me he was always far right, LARPing as a liberal in order to make his billions and to be in favor of the Obama administration and success and Biden as well. By the way, only a year ago, Elon was advocating for carbon taxes for all of us to pay carbon taxes. Just a year ago. Let that.
And it was because it would benefit Tesla.
Yeah, that too.
Right. So, I mean, if you wouldn't have to pay a carbon tax, and it would benefit Tesla. At the time, almost exclusively.
And that's like apostasy for the conservatives, carbon tax, climate change. They don't want anything to do with it. But with Elon, they're all kind of buttoned up on this issue. No one's talking about it. The whole electric car thing is kind of based on a little bit of a fraudulent carbon economy. It is. Elon had positioned himself to be a billionaire on the back of that.
Yep. Okay. People assume that electric car automatically means better for the environment and better for the climate, and that's actually not true. It would be that the way that the car is made is how you would be able to determine that. And the way that these electric cars are made, especially Teslas, they're not good for the environment.
Where the electricity comes from, it comes from the central grid, which is coal and fossil fuels. There's nothing green about it. All it does is displace emissions, from one place to another. I mean,
that's exactly it. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, basically. I mean, so it's
another one. It's a big surprise.
Another one. So I don't know where to stop with this guy. So the last thing I was going to ask you is, I mean, you did this as well as James Lee, who is also really good on these kind of hot take formats, like yourself at Hotspot, but. He was saying, as you said, the timeline, November 2022, Elon grants amnesty to X accounts, ADL flagged as, quote, anti-Semitic, ban the ADL hashtag. You remember, we remember all that before October 7th. And then May 2023, Elon meets Ashley Sinclair. November, Elon reverses stance on free speech. Criticism of Israel is not allowed. And James just basically, gave this interesting video presentation
Elon Musk
and kind of goes through all this. So he's pointing out, he's saying, is Ashley Sinclair a Mossad agent? Is it a honeypot operation? And so you might think people can say, well, that's a bit extreme. And fair enough, it might be wild speculation. But
extreme, I don't know about extreme. I feel like you can say that's speculative. Yeah, it's speculative, but like also
circumstantially.
Like I know everybody keeps people forgot like Epstein worked for Israel. That isn't speculative, and his whole job was to blackmail politicians, blackmail high access public figures, like people like Elon, Ghislaine Maxwell. That was her job. They had these people, they invested a lot of money into doing this very specific thing. Now, obviously, this isn't to the level of like child trafficking, but like Israel blackmailing politicians and public figures and billionaires is not only like normal, but like it's expected at this point. There's no way that you get the position that Elon Musk gets, because now he's not just a billionaire, he's a billionaire in the Trump administration.
Yep.
They're not going to let him just walk around here all willy-nilly with no blackmail. Yeah. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. It's like, and you can't buy him off. Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they can't, what are you going to offer him? What, how much money can an AIPAC or an Israel offer Elon Musk of all people? They don't have enough. So, and he's a dumbass. Pretty face. That's how we'll get him. The most basic looking. Like, she's not even like, there's so many other bro.
Don't be cruel. Don't be cruel, Niko. So look,
she's just so basic looking. I'm just like, bro, you almost threw your career away for this basic looking conservative. Like, it's just, I don't know. So many girls that throw your careers away for.
Literally a man who could have any woman in the world, any supermodel, any super duper 15 out of 10.
Yeah.
But apparently it was Seth Dillon. One report says that he arranged the meeting, had her flown out to San Francisco. So there's that kind of almost like pimping allegations going on there in a way.
Wow. I mean, that's Hollywood, right? It's kind of that's California.
It works. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. But then on the blackmail thing, Niko, what about that? Jeffrey Epstein set Elon Musk's brother up with girlfriends in an effort to get close to Tesla's founder. Sources say this is in 2020, by the way, this story. To my knowledge, this hasn't been retracted or nobody's pushed back on this. Jeffrey Epstein introduced Kimball Musk, this is Elon's brother and business partner, to a woman in his entourage in Epstein's stable. So Epstein introduced Elon's brother to one of the girls in his stable.
It's not a good look, because Epstein, even like the least worst accusation of Epstein is that he's at least a pimp. He's at least that, right? Like, even if we're not getting into the underage girls, like, he's a pimp. That's what he was.
So, this is 2020. Elon was supporting Biden. So there's no political axe to grind here on this story. I've not seen anyone push back on it, not Elon or anybody. So it's probably true. This is two sources told Business Insider. Now, granted, Business Insider is not necessarily known as the paragon of investigative journalism, but this story is out there. It's been out there, and
they were probably able to put it out because there was no political axe to grind, right?
Yeah. Elon was supporting Biden in 2020. So
I could see. So there was an effort to get all the tech bros on the same page. And Elon was always inconsistent. A lot of people kind of forget that. But remember when he wanted to, it was one of the most bizarre things that I ever saw, because it was one of the things that kind of let me know, like, a lot of these quote unquote billionaires, the richest man in the world, or whatever they called themselves at the time. It made me question how much of that money is actually their money. Because whenever he I think he went on Joe Rogan's show and was like, I'm kind of thinking about stepping away from SpaceX. I don't know if you remember, but like, for some reason, Tesla stocks plummeted. And it's like, those things were not supposed to be connected in any way whatsoever. Like, why would Tesla stocks plummet? Because he doesn't want to be a part of SpaceX anymore. Like, if he stopped being a part of X, like, if he's like sold the company, would Tesla stocks, like, that would SpaceX stocks plummet? Like, it shouldn't be connected. But they, for some reason, are. You know how many businesses Mark Cuban owns, right? Like, just because he sells one of them, like when he sold the Mavericks, his other businesses didn't take a hit because they're technically not connected. He goes out of his way to make sure they're not connected. So it's like, it's almost like that was their way of, because SpaceX wasn't what Elon was claiming it was. Maybe he thought it was going to be that at the beginning, but that shit's basically a space weapons company. He claimed it was to send civilians into space, but it was really a space weapons company. They manufactured a weapon that could get anywhere around the world within 2 hours and bomb the shit out of a city or a state without any nuclear fallout. It was actually kind of like that. Have you ever seen the second G.I. Joe movie? Like, that's what it was like, basically. It was almost exactly that, which is kind of creepy. And so around that time, when it was people were figuring out all these Pentagon contracts that the SpaceX had, and when he said that, Tesla stocks plummeted and he changed his mind. Like, why are those three things even connected? They should not be, but they are. And it's because he's actually working for the government and they can pull the rug from any of these billionaires. These Elons, Zuckerberg, even
Ellison,
Jeff Bezos.
Larry Ellison is another one.
The PayPal bros, basically, any of those guys. Even to some degree, I think Peter Thiel. I think Peter Thiel might be an exception because of just how, like, he just is too. He might be too well connected. And Palantir.
Yeah. Bezos. Amazon Web Servers. This is the thing about these. Once you get in a relationship where you're providing web hosting, it's very difficult to extricate yourself from that technically. So it's almost like a contract for life. It's not
it's on purpose.
They're fully embedded at that point.
Mm-hmm. But that's why you see all these tech billionaires who literally hated Trump. They're at his inauguration because they're like, we actually have no idea how long it's going to be until we get a Democrat back in office. Because their bench is depleted. They don't got nobody. I don't know who the hell they're going to put up. Like Gavin Newsom, the way this whole situation with California fires went down, he was already not really. I didn't have that much hope for him anyway. But these California fires just killed that shit. If any hope of him, at least for this next election, that's not happening. Like if your next if your sixth man, if you will, off the bench is Stephen A. Smith, a sports commentator. Y'all got some problems, guys. Y'all got some real issues. And I think that the tech industry has realized, like, there's a higher chance that Trump will select his next guy and that's who will be president than there is that the Democrats will just suddenly take back office again and mobilize in 2028. Because right now, their policy and their stances don't seem to be any different than Trump's on the most important issues, right? Like whether it be Palestine. They're on the wrong side of the Ukraine-Russia argument. And their economic plan was piss poor. I mean, people were literally poorer than they had ever been under Biden, and he didn't care. He actually said that Bidenomics are working. So, and that was the argument they went with. So that's probably why the tech bros are all behind them, because they need the government to maintain their status. They need it. And so this is whose ass they have to kiss now.
That's the new this is the new arrangement. So Technocracy Inc. is in business. There's Peter Thiel, Donald Trump, and of course, Dark MAGA himself, Elon Musk. They're running point on the new technical big data transition of the U.S. government into the future. They position themselves to basically print money for the rest of their lives and their children's lives by the looks of it. So that's the plan, Niko. But we'll see how it rolls out. Shit. Yeah, that's kind of like where we're at on this. So I felt like we were getting to a point where I'm like, man, things are so bad that they're actually getting better because people are recognizing the problems. And then like Elon Musk gets into the government, like without even having to get confirmed by the Senate. And I'm genuinely surprised how many Democrats are not fighting about this as much as you would think they would or should even. Like you got Democrats trying to impeach Trump over shit that like is not even relevant, but no one's making a big deal that he created a part of it. He basically rolled Elon into his administration without confirmation from the House or the Senate. He did so in front of their faces. And he's giving Elon access to data and information that all these guys would have had to go through hell and high water to get top secret clearance for. And Elon just had to give him $200 million. And the Democrats don't seem all that bothered by it. It's kind of weird, actually. This is like, in Republicans, this is like the definition of big government. This is why you don't want big government, right? Like, because of this shit, because of what Elon's doing. Once again,
You don't got to be a billionaire. Like, I don't know what about Elon's resume lets people think that he runs anything efficiently. He has never been successful without the help of the government. You give me a couple $1 billion from the government, hell, give me a couple million. Hell, give me a couple 100,000. I'll turn a penny into 100,000 real quick if you give me 200,000 from the government. Because that's what happens. That's how Elon got rich, right?
Well,
so
he's probably a competent, operations guy, no doubt, and he has made money for shareholders with Tesla with the help of the government, as you said. So some credit where credit's due, of course. He didn't invent the rockets. Certainly, he has great engineers and probably runs a very brutal ship operation. And so some people might say that that's good. Some people, as ex-employees, might say that's bad. So the jury's out. I'm happy with the dismantling of USAID. But again, it's not fully dismantled, as we said at the beginning of this discussion. So I'm waiting for results in the medium term and long term, and then I'll make my judgment. But my position, Niko, is that I have a problem in America with somebody with $250 million or bundles $250 million, buys themselves a seat in the White House and turns it into a co-work space. And I feel the same about the Israeli lobby, who bundled
not the White House, the Oval Office. God damn it! Not even just like, let's be real. It's the Oval Office. It's being in the White House is one thing, but bro, you bringing your kids to the Oval Office casually?
Bring in your little tech guys and set up your little laptop stations and whatnot. So I mean, hey, we'll see how this washes out. We'll see how it washes out. But
I don't have a lot of faith. Once again, my faith only lies in the fact that Trump himself, for the most part, is completely and totally unpredictable. That's like the only, and that in and of itself is almost like an advantage for the people, because, like, for example, I thought he was going to completely shit the bed on this Russia-Ukraine situation. He's only partially shitting the bed on it, and he's like putting out like these feelers to see what he can, like, how people will respond, how Russia will respond. But he also is kind of accepted, like, Zelensky, you really don't have a say in this, my guy. And honestly, I don't really like you that much. And you're kind of screwing our country up. Like, you're making my job difficult. In the moment that happens, if somebody's making Trump's life difficult and his job difficult, you get on his shit list. And regardless of whether or not it's your fault. So I feel like he's basically going to allow Russia to do what they want and get what they want, even though he pretended for a second like he wasn't. He's not. His situation with Rubio trying to make peace with China instead of the saber rattling that we're accustomed to from that administration, and specifically from Rubio, honestly, like, that's kind of like a level of unpredictability. I feel like him selecting Tulsi as DNI was a little bit unpredictable. Although I'm not really a fan of her saber rattling as far as Israel is concerned. It still would be naive to say that is not a significant selection for that position, because DNI is effectively the highest position you can have in the intelligence community. And I'm hoping that she'll have a revelation somewhat like Rubio had. And what Rubio said during his interview with Megyn Kelly was, like, I learned once I became Secretary of State that the people who are considered foreign policy experts actually don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're the dumbest people on the planet. Like, they have zero idea. And I'm hoping that Tulsi will, after she gets the information, she'll see the inconsistencies, and that she'll start riding the ship in that regard, because she's at least shown to do that to some degree in the past. So once again, that level of unpredictability that Trump brings is really the biggest advantage we could hope for by the end of this administration. That there'll be revelations that come out. The JFK papers, the MLK stuff, the RFK stuff. That was kind of out of nowhere. We'll see how much of it we actually get, but that was still kind of out of nowhere. So, unpredictability can be a good thing in politics, because when politics gets too predictable, that's like the worst case scenario, right? Because when it's running like super efficiently, it's when both parties are working together. And when both parties are working together, it's never for our benefit. Not a single time in history has it ever been for our benefit.
Yeah. As they say, the American eagle needs two wings to fly, a left and a right. And that keeps the balance in the system. And I'm a firm believer in this. You need a strong opposition and a good, strong government, but a strong opposition as well, healthy opposition. And that problem right now, Niko, that the opposition is on life support, and that's just not good.
Yes, that's true.
It's very dangerous, because absolute power corrupts absolutely. I don't care what anybody says. That's never been disproven, that mantra throughout history. So that's why we're critical. And I think it's important to hold everyone's feet to the fire. And even if it means for the whole term, myself, I support any positive things that President Trump and his administration are going to undertake. I totally support that. But anything negative, with Tulsi, for instance, the biggest challenge she's going to have is if Israel's passing intelligence about Iran into our system in the U.S., is she going to hand that to the president and say it's actionable when in fact it might not be? That's the kind of challenge that her is going to face. And
yeah, she's going to have a difficult. Yeah, it's going to be difficult for her to navigate that situation.
She's going to be under tremendous pressure very soon. Very soon, I predict.
Shit, already.
100%.
Especially with as this Russia peace deal gets underway, right? Like there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out that's going to try to implicate Russia.
Well, the thing is, Niko, just I don't know if you saw, but the day Tulsi was sworn in Trump's office, the Joint Chiefs released a report saying they have leaked intelligence that Israel will be attacking Iran's nuclear facilities in the next 2 months. And that was the same day she's sworn in. And I said, is this a coincidence? I don't think so.
Leaked intelligence from who? I hate when they say like, I got leaked intelligence. It's like, no, you got intelligence.
From Israel.
How is it leaked then? It's not leaked. They gave it to you.
Well, yeah,
it's Israel, right?
Obviously. So, but that's how the game's played in the Washington Post.
That's nobody wants to take credibility and everybody's anonymous because it's probably not true. So we don't want to put anybody's name on it. So that's why it's leaked, because we can't tell you who it was.
So and what that was interesting about this, and this is where I would expect her to step forward, but it's a very tough position. They didn't say anything about actual evidence of an Iran nuclear weapons program. They just said Israel's going to attack their weapons program. You see the chicken and the egg problem with this story, because Israel's never been able to produce evidence that they have a nuclear weapons program. Netanyahu's been banging on about it for 25 years, saying they're 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. We can't allow the mullahs to have this problem.
That is very true. They have been saying like they're 2 weeks away, they're 2 months away, they're 2 years. Like they've been saying that for a long time.
2 weeks and 20 years. Yeah, exactly. So that's the kind of thing Tulsi's up against, and I hope
she's going to be able to put her bias away in order to objectively analyze the intelligence. Or and demand evidence instead of just blindly accepting whatever lies Israel puts out. And to be fair, Israel might be testing her.
Oh, they definitely will test her, but you got to be willing to walk away from the job. If it comes down to it, you got to be willing to walk away on principle. And I hope she's that person, because
and put everything out there before you do. Like, so I'm gonna, I'm about to quit anyway. So here's what the fuck is going on. Do it, because. I feel like the people deserve to know.
If it saves World War III, it's worth it. And you go down history as a hero rather than
exactly
a shill. So that's the kind of challenges that these people face, So anyway, we hope for the best. I hope I'm wrong. I'm praying I'm wrong. I want to be absolutely hounded and people to attack me for being wrong. I would love that to be the case.
That's what I said too. I'm like, that would be awesome. I would love to eat crow in the next story, especially about Tulsi. I'm like, if I got it wrong about her and she just ends up flipping the script again and just goes balls to the wall against the establishment, exposes everybody and everything, like, because it's that job is not small. And she's actually the youngest to ever have held that position too. So, and I want to be clear. This is one of for Trump getting Tulsi to be the DNI was weirdly strategic. It's not really in his lexicon to be that damn strategic for anything. He don't think more than 2 days ahead, if even that. Getting Tulsi to be the DNI is almost like he was protecting himself, because he's like, there's going to be bullshit that comes out of the intelligence community. Yes. That they're going to try to use to manipulate me, like what happened with Syria. I need you to siphon through that. I need you to siphon through all of it and figure out what's true and what's not. right? I feel like that's what the point was. And it's because Tulsi was one of the ones who was actively critiquing him when he fell for bad intelligence the first time around while she was running for president, right? And even during that, which was kind of interesting, he still praised her. She called him Saudi Arabia's bitch, and he still was praising her.
Yeah, I know.
It was kind of weird, right? But maybe because he knew, like, yes, they're playing me. I know. He's she's telling the truth. That's.
I hope you're right.
He clearly believed, or else he wouldn't have selected her as DNA, right?
I hope you're right on that, Niko. I really do. I hope that's the case. That would be great. The craziest part about this administration, before we get up out of here, is like, this could be one of the best administrations, if not the best administration in history, if they allow it to be. If they have the conviction, and do not, and really, I guess it all comes down to not allowing Israel to control the outcome. Like, I guess is what it really comes down to at the end of the day. Do you have principles? Do you have convictions? And are you going to allow Israel, and I guess at this point, Elon, to control the outcome? Because, Elon's influence is scary, to put it lightly. Like, bro, he shouldn't be taking meetings with Modi. He shouldn't. That should not be a thing. He should be. I don't like the Senate. I don't believe in our Congress. They're fucking full of shit. But he should be scrutinized publicly. His conflict of interest should be scrutinized publicly, and that's for our interests. It's not because I trust in the Senate to make the right decision. It's because that's the process. That's what our Constitution demands. He somehow managed to skirt that again. Like, that's not a good look. That's a different level of influence that should not be involved in the presidential administration. So if we avoid the influence of Israel, if we avoid the influence of Elon, and Trump lets people who know how to do their job actually do their job, and he listens to them instead of his ego, right? I think that outside of the culture war nonsense, which is going to be a problem regardless, because that's what you get when you get Republicans in office. I think when it comes to the international community, because that's what I feel like is most affecting the economy and everything, not just in the United States, but around the freaking world, we could get that right for the most part. And they just have to allow it to happen and show some fucking conviction for once. Like, don't start bombing people for no reason, like what they did with Syria when they fell for bad intelligence there. Don't irk Russia into starting another war, because that's what the Biden administration did. Like, don't allow Israel to run Rothschild all over the Middle East. Don't allow that shit, because it will be a problem for us. We're the ones who have to deal with it at the end of the day. It's our gas prices are going to rise, our food prices rise, all of that shit. Everything rises really because of the reliance on fossil fuels. So, like, just be smart and listen to the people who know what they're talking about. Trust your DNI. Trust. I would even say to some degree, trust Marco Rubio. If he's really trying to pursue peace, strategic peace, like, trust in him, which it seems like he's doing more of. And maybe not listen to JD Vance as much, but other than that, they have potential. They just they can get it right, man. Yeah. And maybe I hope that that's enough for them to do the right things. Like, bro, we could really shift the entire Overton window if we get this right. And I hope that realization will make them do the right thing. Yeah, I mean, even Vance is promising some of the things he said. Certainly welcome. They've all got a blind spot on Israel. Rubio, Tulsi, Vance, Trump, everybody. So it's almost like you have to separate Israel, Iran. It's like a separate problem. But outside of that, I see a lot of positive signs, Niko, and like you said. So let's take those W's, and we'll be very happy to take those W's. And hopefully there's an epiphany on the stuff relating to the Holy Land and the Middle East. So
yeah, there's a possibility that Bibi being so tied up in corruption hearings and all this the backlash and stuff that comes out of that could kind of like destabilize the Israeli government for so long, because they're having an internal war that nobody was talking about within the Israeli government. Maybe that will put some of Israel's intentions on backlog and allow the United States to get some fucking work done while they're kind of held up, if you will. Right? And they're going to eventually get their stuff together and eventually pick somebody new, but we don't know how that's going to turn out, because despite what people say, Israelis themselves, They might be bigoted for the most part, and they might be racist for the most part, but they don't want another October 7th. They damn sure don't want to deal with this again. I can guarantee it, because I know I know that situation with them in Iran that almost sparked off, or really that did spark off, but that could have been worse. I know that scared the shit out of them. We know what they flooded the airports. They were terrified. I know they don't want that to happen again, regardless of how much they hate Palestinians. And so we might get somebody next who could be the Prime Minister of Israel, who's actually a little bit more isolationist, even if they are Zionists. So with the situation with Bibi unfolding the way it has been, that could also be positive for the entire world if it goes the way it should.
Yeah, it could definitely. There's a lot of potential for shifting, and some of that stuff can pivot for sure. There's a big possibility. We're living in extraordinary times, so expect extraordinary things to happen. But Niko House, and just give us a shout on your portals and channels. Obviously, Hotspot, where's the best place to find your videos? I know you're on a bunch of different platforms. Go ahead.
I'm on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, X. You can find me on X at Real Niko House, and also, like you said, at Hotspot. You can also find me on TikTok at Real Niko House and Instagram at Real Niko House as well. I think that's about it. Oh, you can follow my Telegram stuff too. I posted a lot on TikTok, on Twitter and on my YouTube videos, so you can follow the links there.
Excellent. And do check out his TikTok offerings. Hotspot has other contributors. I think you got Nick Cruz and some other really good sort of hardcore hot take artists to break down some of the big stories as they come. So it's a great resource for everybody. You're doing a great service by boiling down complex issues into things that people can actually digest and understand. Seriously complex issues in some cases. So you're doing a great, you've got it down to an art form, obviously, and we really appreciate it. And it's great to see your content getting out there. And
hey, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate you joining us for this midweek wire here. And yeah, a lot of food for thought today. We shall see how things turn out. And
yeah, man, just trying to sit back and trying to eat some popcorn, man. That's all you can do at this point when it comes to stuff. It's like, I'm just gonna chill, just to see what happens, guys. That's all we can do, man. It's like that everywhere, including Brazil. We're about to, bro. 2020. So it's 2025 right now. So our election's coming up in 2026. It's about to be a shitstorm here. I'm actually I'm considering taking a class like to kind of advance my Portuguese even more so, because like I feel like I'm gonna end up having to do a lot of shows in Portuguese because of like Lula he's probably not gonna win, but Bolsonaro is probably gonna try again.
Yep.
And there's gonna be that the constant back and forth of who's basically, unfortunately, it's gonna be who's more corrupt.
Listen, the U.S. deep state will be putting all their chips on Bolsonaro, and all sorts of funny business going on down there. So, yeah, work on that Portuguese, Niko, so you can maximize those media opportunities with global TV.
For sure.
TV Global. TV Global. They decide who wins your elections, actually.
Global Play? Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. I'm surprised you know about that. Yeah, man, they got their hand on the scale a little bit.
They decide, and Oracle decides who do the database for the electronic voting. They also decide who wins the elections in Brazil. That's what my Brazilian friends have told me for years.
Yeah.
Make of that what you will. Make of that what you will.
I will admit they have a lot of checks and balances, right? But like at the end of the day, a lot of the information that they're voting with is highly skewed and is usually wrong and they're misinformed. Like you said, because global play is like the main, like, bro, you can't buy a TV without global play being automatically loaded onto your TV. I leave my TV like on sleep mode for too long. Global play news just automatically starts playing on all of my TVs.
Yeah.
So like, it's like that. So yeah, it's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, they have an absolute monopoly, but yeah, that'll be really fascinating to watch. So yeah, you're definitely ahead of the curve. Just thinking ahead on that, and so Glenn Greenwald is down there as well. He's also going to be weighing in on that, I'm sure. So it's good to have a couple of really good, canny American political commentators on the scene. So that will be something to look forward to as well. Niko House, thank you for joining us this week.
Appreciate you, Pat. Thanks for having me on.
There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. That is Niko House. And yeah, we'll put down in the description some of his links as well. And just follow him on X, and I'll also give you a look into everything else that he's doing. Listen, that's all we've got time for, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to remind people, yeah, we are having a winter fundraising drive, and this is how we fund our operation for the next 12 months. We have a great amount of content that we've ramped up as well, and we have a great part-time team, some volunteers, sub-editors. We're going to be adding another associate editor to our lineup as well. You'll see some of the really great analysis that's been published over the last couple of months, and we'll be increasing that as well. We're doing it on very, very low resources, running on shoestrings basically, but we're able to do a lot with very little, and that's what's always been fantastic about 21st Century Wire since we launched in 2009. We don't have the levels of budgets as some of these other big media outlets, but we're 100% independent, and we get a lot done with what we have. We need your help going forward. So if you like what we do, you like this type of content, the type of conversations that we're doing now, not only midweek now, this is a new program, which we're doing midweek, but also Sunday, the Sunday Wire. That's 12 till 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 till 8 UK time. That's myself usually as the host there, but I'm joined always by my great team with Alternate Current Radio, Hesher and Ruckus, among the MVPs of that squad, as well as some fantastic guests and interviews that we do. That's an omnibus program every weekend there. So yeah, that's it. So we do need your help. So go to the links. They're a website, 21st Century Wire, donate, support, the buttons at the top. You'll see us there. There's lots of different ways you can, monthly become a member, 21wire.tv. That's the ultimate. That's just around $5 a month. And it's a great way that we can get your support on a regular basis. And we really appreciate it. I know we've got fans out there. You can also click on my X account. There's a donate button up the top of my X account. It'll take you straight to 21st Century Wire. So there's different ways you can support us there. So we'll leave it that. And Niko House is a fantastic commentator, is one of the great all-around political minds and commentators. And he does unbelievable hot take videos. And Niko's incredibly relevant and has his finger on the pulse, as do a lot of great guests that we bring onto this program. So do support Niko and his work as well. He's definitely one of the originals and definitely one of the mavericks on the scene of the independent media. So that's all we got time for today. That's it, folks. That is the show. And again, I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. This is 21stcenturywire.com, 21 Wire Live. We'll see you on Sunday this weekend for the Sunday Wire. Hopefully, we've got something pretty impactful lined up. I'm working on it as we speak. Take care. All the best.